Live from Cali College, welcome to the Tigers Den.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this year's editions of the Tigers Den. We're changing it up a little bit. I'm Andrew Burgos.
And I'm Joe Blake. And behind the camera, our producer, Jared Oberlechner.
And we love sports, and we can't wait to talk to you about Cali sports and national sports going on. We're going to start off with Cali softball. Jared, you actually got to sit down and talk to Coach Hoyt.
Softball team always looks great. Chemistry-wise, they look stronger than ever. They act like they've been on the team for 4-6 years. They cheer every at-bat. Even though there's fans there, they're still the loudest people out there.
Last year, our season got cut short. We had one conference game, and we ended up was 2-0 in conference, and then that day it actually canceled on us where we had to end our season from there. We came back this August where we could only practice in individual groups until mid of September. So we've been taking advantage of that. Every day we screen them probably about 2 to 3 times a day, where we're doing temperature checks, making sure that they are not having any symptoms. Before they can go into practice, they have to get those screenings done, and then they have to be submitted to our athletic trainers.
I've been trying to stay in my dorms, and if I hang out with anyone, I've been trying to stay with just some of my teammates.
As long as we're around each other and we're clear as far as our temps and our symptoms goes, we allow them to do whatever, hang around in the dorms, be close on the field, everything like that. So, it's been a great experience so far. As far as the team it goes, they've bonded really well. It is a little long, drawn-out thing, but, they get through it because they know that in order to play, we have to do these screenings.
I love the freshmen. They crack me up. They came out and played like they were here for like 2 years or 3 years, like how I am. They all have dominant spots. They work hard every day, every practice. They compete with us. That's probably the only reason why we're going to be dominant this year, because we're competing every day for each spot that we own.
Great job on that interview, Jared. You did a really good job. Super pumped to see what Coach Hoyt's going to do with this program this year. Joe, you actually got to sit down and watch the first few games of the soccer team this year on scrimmages. How'd they do?
Right, so I watched the boys scrimmage Coffeyville, and they came out in the losing end, but created some good chances for themselves. They lost 1-0. An unfortunate result, really. I feel like that they outpossessed and outshot Coffeyville. But, just an unfortunate result in the end, 1-0. Sometimes that's how soccer goes. You can outplay somebody, but, at the end of the day, it's about converting opportunities. And, with time, that'll come for the Tigers, and I think they're going to be just fine.
And exactly, and the girls also tied, so good job from both teams, and a great job. It's only a scrimmage, so we got plenty of time to improve, and Tigers just keep on pushing. You'll do a really great job.
Right, and, hopefully they can get back to the national tournament this year. Obviously, last year was a big deal for them to get there. So
yeah, the guys did really good, and the girls had one of their best seasons that they've had in a really long time. Let's move on and talk a little bit of cross country here. Lubna Swede actually got named the NJCAA Division II Athlete of the Week when it comes to cross country, so great job to her. Super excited to see how she's running, and cross country is always, like all Cali sports, are really starting to excel and be top notch.
Oh yeah, and Lubna Swede just embodies Cali.
Yeah.
Being the top athlete, as many Cali sports are rising towards the top. At this school, we have so many programs that are at the top of the Jayhawk Conference and Region 6. I think,
it's a standard here, and you got to keep that standard and push to become the best. I really, really love Cali sports and how they do that and how they always strive for excellence. So that's really, really awesome. I also got the chance to sit down and talk to the athletic director, Shane Larson, on some stuff where it comes to limiting capacity at basketball games, scrimmages, and all that stuff. So here's that for you.
First and foremost, the college is under a mask protocol. We will continue to ask fans to follow that as much as possible while attending events. We will be selling concessions, so we will have some flexibility in that policy. Having snacks, whatever, obviously they'll be able to take their mask off. We will ask that when they are not doing that or when they're moving around in the gym, we will probably be marking off certain rows to separate every other row to give some space. Ask individuals to set with their family units.
We want to thank Shane Larson for sitting down with Andrew for our monthly update with him. Now, I got the chance to go and watch the baseball game, and they looked very strong. They had a 21-inning game that consisted of 19 different pitchers, and overall, they pretty much dominated Coffeyville. Here's my story on that.
Well, it's a very young team, considering we have no actual sophomores on the roster. So we have some guys that are back that are redshirt freshmen from last season due to the season being cut short. It's going to be that inexperience factor, I think. I mean, we've got so many new faces that are going to be out there. The good thing about it is there's a lot of talent in that youth, though. There's a lot of good young talent there. I think each one of these scrimmages, they keep getting a little bit better, a little bit more confident in themselves that they can play at this level. The superstars of the teams all of a sudden come here to Cali, and you're just like everybody else. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were All-Americans at their schools, and so all of a sudden that kid that's coming here to Cali that's been a star his whole life from Little League on is now battling for a starting position.
And that's a wrap for the Cali sports side of the show. Now on to national sports. First topic, NFL. Before this week, we recorded a week prior, and we messed up on the memory cards. But that's a good thing because a lot of stuff has happened in 1 week. Andrew, what'd you see?
Dak Prescott, folks, he's out for the season. What do you think is going to happen, Joe?
I mean, they have Andy Dalton, but I think that it's bigger. Dak Prescott's injury, I think, is bigger than what are the Cowboys going to do. I think with Dak Prescott, he's done a lot outside of football, with mental health awareness, trying to get paid. I mean, he's trying to get that contract extension, really get his payout, and then this happens. I mean, it's a really unfortunate situation.
Every single Cowboy fan wants Dak to be a Cowboys for life. I think everyone on that staff wants Dak to be a Cowboys for life. The real question is, does Jerry Jones want Dak Prescott to be a Cowboy for life? In my opinion, I really hope this doesn't happen, but I think he's either going to get tagged again or they're just going to drop him all in general if Andy Dalton continues to do well, because Jerry Jones is a businessman. COVID is really messing up the NFL business, but I am hoping personally that Dak Prescott gets that extension.
Right. Yeah, but you say Jerry Jones, he's a businessman, and I agree with that. But also, he does have some heart. I mean, we saw how long it took to relieve Jason Garrett of his duties.
You're right there.
I mean, everybody and their mama knew that he was gone.
See ya.
I mean, yeah. And so, for him to let Dak Prescott go, I think it would be very shocking at this point. You know, I think that he's going to get another shot at being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And I think all of America is hoping for that. I think that's definitely something all of America wants to see, and super excited about that. What do you think, Jared?
I saw that live. I think the funniest thing that came out of that was Tony Romo saying, I hope that's a cramp, and immediately cutting to the most twisted, broken ankle I've ever seen in my life. But, I think what's kind of weird, though, is that people were talking trash on Dak, calling him overrated and all that. But now they're hoping that he gets that contract, and people were, and that I kind of feel bad for Dak in both situations, contract side and player side, because I think Dak's a great player. I think he gets overhated, obviously, just as he's on the Cowboys. And also, it sucks money-wise because it doesn't seem like he's going to get that big bag that he always wanted. But definitely, I don't see them releasing him, even for Andy Dalton, no. I hope Jerry Jones doesn't do that. That'll be the dumbest thing since he has done in a long time. But, I just hope Dak gets a speedy recovery and, all is well.
I think for sure thoughts and prayers go out to Dak Prescott and his family, and hopefully a speedy recovery so we can see him next year and he can come show everybody what that amazing season he was having get cut super duper short, which really sucks.
Yeah. And can we just talk about this? Might be the worst injury we've seen in sports on live TV since Kevin Ware of Louisville.
It's one of them I remember. I only remember Kevin Ware, and I'll never forget this because I was like, it wasn't that bad when I watched it live. Went back and watched it. Literally, you see it go like this, right? Then Dak Prescott literally throws it up, hits it on the ground so it was straightened up a little bit more. It was very, very bad.
Yeah, worst we've seen since Kevin Ware.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the worst I've seen, though, Alex Smith. Alex Smith's leg injury was very, very not okay. But, what's kind of funny, though, is that Dak got injured but then Alex Smith came back after his gruesome leg injury, which is amazing.
And that's a huge story. Alex Smith back. It's super cool and great for the NFL. Great story for the NFL this year. And, Alex Smith didn't do the best, but for coming back, you know what?
I mean,
good for him.
He almost died.
Yeah.
So
He got sacked, 6, 7 times?
Yeah.
Didn't, lose anything.
And I think everyone here, even watching Chiefs football when Alex Smith played and watching him on the 49ers do what he did with that Super Bowl run that year with the 49ers, seeing Alex Smith back on the field after what happened, it's just amazing to see. It's a huge inspiration for everybody.
Yeah, and I think just in general, like, people are talking he might deserve comeback player of the year just for getting back on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's really what it's all about. I'm not really sure what the basis is for that. I think he might have to put up some numbers before that happens. But, I mean, if we're talking worst injury to getting back onto the field, this might be the most incredible football story we've seen.
And that E60 was amazing to watch with seeing Alex Smith come back and stuff like that. And, that's some great comeback stories in the NFL. What are some unfortunate or teams that you thought were going to do better this year that haven't been showing up very well?
Well, I feel like you asked me that on purpose. Me being a Vikings fan, you being a Bears fan, and the Vikings.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's called an extra point. You ever heard of it?
Yeah. We weren't talking about that, but yeah. I mean, they're 1-4. They've got super young defense, in my opinion. We had some contract dispute a couple of years ago where we were trying to figure out who are we going to pay, and we paid Stephon Diggs. Well, now he's in Buffalo, and that's not going to pay out for us. But I was thinking we had guys that are still on the roster like Barr and Kendricks, that we could have extended and kept on the team. But now we've lost Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin. Yeah. So the Vikings, Xavier Rhodes. They definitely, I feel like, messed up by paying Diggs before those guys. But after the Minneapolis Miracle, it's hard to, not pay Diggs in that situation. So it was kind of coming.
For me, I would have to say the Atlanta Falcons this year. Lack of just simple, fundamental football and lack of discipline, not caring, and that's why, which we'll talk about in a little bit, how Quinn's gone. He got fired. He's done, and so is their general manager as well. But for me, just you have the lead in these games now. Don't get me wrong, the Bears are one of those teams, so I got lucky on one of those, but a lack of discipline really, really cost the Falcons in the games that they lost, and they gave Cowboys a win, and it's just unfortunate to see a team that has Matt Ryan when Matt Ryan has huge potential. And in my opinion, right now, unfortunately, isn't a Hall of Famer because they just haven't been able to get those big games.
Right.
It just killed them, and it's killed them this year as well. So I hope for the Falcons to kind of build up next year and hopefully do better. But we always say that every year.
And I've always been a component of Julio Jones being the best receiver in the league.
One of them, for sure.
I feel like in the Super Bowl, he made the catch that should have clinched the game. Up by 8, and that catch put him in the field goal range. Holding penalty, knocked him back, had to punt the ball, gave it to Tom Brady.
And we know that story.
Yeah, we know the rest. 28-3. But I mean, Julio Jones, in my opinion, is the best receiver in the league. And right now, I mean, these are prime years. I mean, you can't start 0-5 and make the playoffs.
Exactly.
So Julio Jones is not making the playoffs this year. That's a prime year of Julio Jones that's being wasted right now.
I agree.
So
I agree.
It's tough to be a Falcons fan right now.
Yeah, it's tough to be a team that's losing fan right now as well. And I feel the Vikings' pain because where they were at last year, but also all these teams right now. Trust me, the Bears have been through plenty of these years in my life, so I know how you guys are feeling. Jared, who do you think?
Definitely. If you're a Falcons fan, there's a lot of downs. But now there's going to be a lot of ups. Calvin Ridley's playing like he's going to be taking over Julio's spot someday. But I think they definitely made the right decision in getting rid of Quinn. And because, my biggest example, I watched the Bears game. It was a 2-minute drill. Bears were up by, one or something? 2-minute drill. They kept on doing no huddles. And I knew right away because they kept on throwing the ball, and it was really risky, even though they had a couple of timeouts. Yeah. I knew right away as they ran that huddle, I was like, they're just going to throw easy pick. And what do you know? Easy pick was thrown. But yeah, definitely. I think things are gonna just start looking up, or things are gonna start looking up now for the Falcons. But yeah, I hope the best for Matt Ryan because I like him a lot. But yeah.
Yeah,
Matty,
well,
guys, he's a legend.
Matty, well, more like Matty Water from this year because he hasn't been doing anything.
That's
Unfortunately, he's out of the fridge and freezer and he's melting on the floor right now because it's been a rough year for the Falcons for sure. Let's move on to another big topic here. We'll moving on from the Falcons getting fired, and we're going to actually kind of bring that up right now. Bill O'Brien, Dan Quinn, and both of those general managers for both of those teams get fired. What do you think?
Well, Bill O'Brien 100% deserved what he got. I mean, and that's not even talking coaching. You gave away, I said earlier, Julio, my best receiver. Hopkins is a close second.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
How do you give away, and he's arguably the best receiver in the league.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
how do you give away arguably the best receiver in the league for David Johnson? He's a good player, but I mean he's rotten.
Yeah.
You know what? He's not anything compared to DeAndre Hopkins.
Agreed.
And that's what they get, and just a very head scratching move by him. And
You pay Deshaun Watson. Who the heck is Deshaun Watson going to throw the ball to right now?
Right.
It's like you're setting the man up for failure right now, and you got to. Unfortunately, now you have to rebuild that team, and hopefully, a new staff that comes in next year after this year is over, or maybe they'll keep some people that are on there this year. We'll build up that team, and hopefully, we'll see the Houston back into the swing of things.
And I think that they will. I mean, Deshaun Watson, great player, and they also have young receivers like Kuti and. What's the Fuller? Will Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller's a great guy.
And J.J. Watt in the defensive end. They're still going to be the Houston Texans in years to come.
Yeah.
And they're still going to be a threat.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate start to the season. Why give away DeAndre Hopkins?
It's a great question. And you can also sit back and think they're still thinking about last year's playoffs when they blew it to the Chiefs by a lot. But just think of it this way, guys. The Chiefs were in this same position 3-4 years ago, choking those playoff games, trying to find that right coach, and then boom, Andy Reid was open. And ever since then, the Chiefs have been an up and up. And there's this guy named Patrick Mahomes that kind of helped that out a bit. But they've done a really good job. Jared, what do you think?
Houston and the Falcons they didn't have a 0 game. I was looking at it. I was like, what's going on? Like, these teams are really good. Like, if anything, the Falcons got better because, they added Todd Gurley and Calvin Ridley's playing well. But then you realize, Calvin's the only one getting targeted and Todd Gurley's not getting his touches. Yeah. But with the Texans, you're just wasting a healthy J.J. Watt career right now because – by God, that man is never healthy.
Yeah,
this
no kidding.
The year he's healthy.
This is the 1 year, yeah.
1 year that man's healthy, they're pushing for wild card if anything.
They got to fight pretty hard.
It's a tough way to get to the wild card. I mean, ideally you want to be 10-6 going for the wild card.
And it does help they got an extra team this year, and they're on the AFC. AFC's tough. I'd say if they're in the NFC, they'd have a better chance. But AFC's really locked down defense right now. Any big surprises this year that you've seen so far?
I mean, we got the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Allen, he got them to the playoffs last year, and that was really good for him. But he still hadn't really proved himself yet.
Yeah, I agree.
But now we've got Josh Allen. He's here, and he's got a big threat wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. Still got John Brown. I mean, they're a legit offense.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you got Trey White. He's got an island out there on the defensive side of the ball. I think the Buffalo Bills, they're going to compete with the Patriots for the NFC East title.
AFC.
Not NFC East. The NFC East we don't talk about because they are. I think there are 3 total wins in that division.
Yeah.
So,
and a tie. A tie.
So not good. But AFC East.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we got a Cam Newton-led Patriots team that looks pretty solid. I mean, they competed with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
With the backup,
yeah, exactly.
Stidham
and Hoyer, Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer. So, I gotta get my names right. But so Patriots and Bills, it's going to be an interesting matchup when it comes.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that's a Week 17 game that is, for the division.
Yeah.
But, we'd have to see about that. But
Josh Allen kind of gives me these Drew Lock vibes. He's just he's not cocky, but he likes to go out there and have a good time and celebrate with his guys no matter what. So he loves playing the game. And honestly, I like him. I really like what he's doing with the team. And the Bills Mafia is just fun to watch in general. Like, who doesn't love seeing someone literally get body slammed through a table on their home games? Like, come on. That's my type of fan and crowd right there. So I'm excited to see what the Bills do, and I think they have a really good chance. All right, guys, we got to kind of speed it up here, and we're going to move into the key games because, man, we love football. We love football, but there's so much more to talk about, and more football in the college way coming up as well. So let's bring up some of these games here that are going to come up in the next few weeks before we get to see you guys again. First one is Chiefs versus the Bills. Who do you got?
Bills by 6.
Okay.
So.
What about you, Jared?
Bills by 3.
You guys are crazy. I'm going to stick up for my man Kobe, which you'll see next episode. And I know he'd be picking the Chiefs because he's a Chiefs guy. But
Sorry, Kobe.
Listen, man, the Chiefs are a really good team, and the Bills, it's going to be a heck of a game to watch. I cannot wait to sit down and just watch greatness on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive side. And the Bills' defense got a really big chance here after watching what the Raiders did to the Chiefs this week. You saw what you have to do now. So work hard, and I'm pulling for the Bills, but I think the Chiefs are going to come out and definitely win this one.
Well, being in Kansas, I don't think I'll ever not pull for the Chiefs unless they're against the Vikings, but
Or the Bears.
Yeah, but besides that, I feel like the Chiefs. I mean, they're a solid team, but right now, I mean, we saw you can't go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl, and I think they're going to go through some ups and downs, and I think right now they're going to be in a down slope for a few weeks, and then they're going to come back up. I mean, that's what Chiefs fans. They just have to ride the roller coaster.
Yeah. Upcoming game this week, Tampa Bay versus Green Bay. Who do you got?
Well, Bears fan, Vikings fan. We both hope the Buccaneers win that game, but I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take it. I'll give them plus 6 also. I think Buccaneers are still trying to figure some things out, and Aaron Rodgers is...
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you could say.
That matchup, Aaron Rodgers was versus Tom Brady. It's a really good, quarterback battle, 2 veterans, and I honestly think Aaron Rodgers is the better of the 2.
Yeah.
But, rings would say otherwise, but I think Aaron Rodgers is a better overall player, and he's going to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Jared?
Aaron Rodgers is my dude. He has weapons. You can call them weapons, but Rodgers is making them weapons. Unless something starts clicking for Tampa Bay, especially on defense, I got Green Bay by 15.
Wow. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm really, really excited to see both things. I think Tampa Bay needs to do a little bit more work. They're doing a really good job, Bill, in building this team around Tom Brady and working on their offense and defensive side. They're doing good, building up. But you know what? Aaron Rodgers, let me tell you a quick little story. I hated Aaron Rodgers. I literally hated Aaron Rodgers being a Bears fan. And my dad said something really, really important to me one day when we were watching Aaron Rodgers play. He said, son, this is greatness on the field. You need to at least respect greatness, right? So I started respecting the guy, and now I watch the Pat McAfee show almost every single day. And he started going on every single Tuesday, and they call it Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays. And I have been watching Aaron Rodgers kill that show, and it's making me respect Aaron Rodgers more and more and more. I could maybe even say I kind of like Aaron Rodgers as a player now. So I'm definitely going to say that the Packers win, but it's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, and let's talk about what he said on the Pat McAfee show. What he said that career years for other quarterbacks are down years for me.
Exactly.
Or the other way around, I think he said it.
He said average years for a quarterback are normal years for me. I'm sorry, stellar. Like good years for other quarterbacks are just decent years for me. It doesn't matter.
And that's what Aaron Rodgers is. I mean, being fans of their division rivals, we both see every time that he's on the TV, we're rooting against him, for division standing purposes, and he makes us mad because he makes some crazy throw or does something, that's just perfect.
Mr. Discount double check there, and you give him 2 minutes to go with the ball, and he needs to win. Most of the time, he's going to get it there and do his job. My dad and I always say it's the Aaron Rodgers show every time he comes up because he's just really good at what he does.
He's arguably the best in the game.
Yeah.
So,
All right, guys, we're going to move it into NCAA football, talking more football, of course, but now we're talking college football. Well, let's start off with just how you think conferences are doing so far and some key points.
Well, Big 12 is in absolute disarray unless Oklahoma State comes out on top of that conference.
Yeah.
But, Jared being the big Pokes fan that he is, it's good for him. But it's going to be interesting to see, how the Big 12 does. Because the Big 12, I think, sets itself up for failure because you got to play all nine teams.
Yeah.
And you practically have to run the table if you're going to get in the playoff. I mean, Oklahoma's been able to do it with one loss, but
not this year.
If something goes wrong within the conference and you end up with, number one and number two at being two lost teams, you don't have a shot at being in the playoff. I think that's what's wrong with the Big 12 schedule.
I agree. I think the Big 12 needs to find some better teams. I'm sorry, not better teams. They need to bring in some more teams because their teams are really, really stellar, and that's the thing. They all play each other, so they all fight, and they're going to get those losses. I think that the Big 12 just needs to become a better powerhouse in general because out of the Big 5 conferences, the Big 12, when it comes to football, they're just not there compared to the SEC and the Big 10. And I wouldn't say the Pac-12. Pac-12's kind of, they're kind of falling.
They're
the
third of the
But
Power
listen,
Five.
the SEC, the Big 10 really carry the top 25 when it comes to conference rankings and stuff. So they really need to keep moving, and they just need to keep that ball rolling. And when the Big 10 comes back this week, it's really going to change the rankings a lot.
Oh, yeah. And we got, a lot of key games that we're going to talk about here. And the Big 10, has always at least had someone in the conversation for the playoff.
No kidding.
And, from top to bottom, maybe not all the way down to the bottom, but like the number 1 versus number 8 in the Big 10, it's going to be a dogfight.
No matter what. It's Big 10 football's fun to watch. It's a blast, and you couldn't really ask for anything more. Super glad they're coming back. In my opinion, I think they're kind of setting themselves up for failure with the way they have it set up.
Yeah.
8 weeks, you have to get all those weeks done, and you have to have the conference championship. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm just thankful everyone's kind of back. The major conferences are back on the horse and they're moving football.
Right. And, let's just talk about some of these key matchups we have.
Yeah.
We have Ohio State versus Nebraska. Obviously Nebraska has been kind of down, but Scott Frost, I think, is going to, once it's his program, I think it's going to be brought up to, what Nebraska football has been traditionally.
Yeah, and I think that the Big 12, Big 10, Pac-10, whatever it is, I think they said, all right, Nebraska, the Ohio State University, you guys want to play football in Nebraska? Fine. You get Ohio State the very first week of the year, so good luck on that one. I have Ohio State. I don't know who
and I mean...
By 20, I think. It's a blowout.
Yeah. I think Nebraska can make it interesting, but I think towards the end it'll be one of those games where, it was interesting in the first half, but then I think Justin Fields, leads the way, and they pull away in this one easily.
Jared, who do you got?
I'm not a big college football fan unless it boils down to Oklahoma State, but I still don't really watch them, but just off the names, Ohio State's been the team the whole, decade.
Yeah, and that's a smart pick off the name, and that's Ohio State has made that name out there, so they're doing a really good job and hope to continue to make that going as the season goes on. Let's move on to another one here: Michigan versus Minnesota. Who do you got?
Row the boat, Sky U Mob, whatever it is. I got the Gophers. Harbaugh has been kind of disappointing for Michigan, and I'm sure he might only have a limited amount of time left there because he's getting paid so much, and I bet a bunch of alumni and boosters and donators that are there at Michigan are kind of disappointed because they're paying him a bunch for him to go 8-4. Yeah. Oh, and they haven't beaten Ohio State since.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, it's been a long time since they've beaten Ohio State.
Yeah, it's been a really long time, and as a Notre Dame fan, let's go Minnesota. Michigan. I strongly dislike Michigan, but I think that Harbaugh he's gotten key players, but not a key team. Right. Every single year, he hasn't had enough recruits, enough to build that team strong as a whole. And they could just never beat. They barely beat Penn State. I don't know if they have yet, and they've never beaten Ohio State.
Right, and I like to compare Michigan to Texas.
Yeah,
and because I think Michigan in the Big Ten is what Texas is in the Big 12. They bring in a great bunch of recruits, and they do a little bit better than Texas, but they only get to the Outback Bowl. And then, like last year, they get smacked by Alabama. And, for a lot of programs, the Outback Bowl is like, oh, cool, we're playing on January 1st. This cool deal. But if you're a Michigan fan, you expect more. And especially when you're paying Harbaugh as much as you're paying him, it's different.
I wouldn't say his seat is on fire burning, but it's starting to warm up. Mm-hmm. And when you get the Outback Bowl against Alabama on their down year, Michigan fans had to know, oh, great, it's over.
I mean, you saw Jerry Jeudy, catching 70-yard bombs. I mean,
no kidding.
It was going to be a struggle fest from the start for the Wolverines.
Our third one is Oklahoma State versus Iowa State. Really good game coming up. Who do you got?
Well, for the purposes of Big 12 making it to the college football playoff, I hope Oklahoma State wins. Yeah. But I got Iowa State in this one. I think Brock Purdy, second best quarterback in the Big 12 conference behind Spencer Rattler, who really hasn't done all that much yet. So he could be the best quarterback. Definitely the highest NFL probability, as far as being a pro-style quarterback. You also got Wichita Northwest product, Breece Hall at running back. They're a talented bunch on the offensive end, and that's what the Big 12 is all about.
Yeah.
I hope Oklahoma State wins this game. I hope Chuba Hubbard rushes for 200.
Yeah, let's go.
I got to go with Iowa State in this one.
All right, I'm pretty sure we know who Jared's going to pick, but Jared, who do you got?
Play Oklahoma State. Hubbard is my boy. I love Hubbard.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard's a beast. I got Oklahoma State. It's going to be really fun to see Iowa State's defense because I saw what they did against Oklahoma, how they pushed really hard towards the end of that game. So I'm excited to see this game and see what happens. We're going to move into the final key game of kind of this wrap-up of this month and until our next episode. The Sunflower Showdown, KU versus K-State.
Yeah. So my grandparents, KU alumni, my mom, KU alumni, my brother, now KU alumni. I'm a big KU fan, but holy cow, it has been terrible to watch this year. Les Miles has 3 quarterbacks that he can't decide upon.
Now they're all getting hurt, too.
Yeah,
so that doesn't help.
The program is in disarray right now. And we have Puka Williams, who was a breakout player his freshman year, and now he seemingly doesn't get the ball.
He's flatlining.
And so it's very frustrating to watch. Hopefully something can change for the Sunflower Showdown. I mean, it's been, I think, 2009 was the last time.
It's been a really long time.
Yeah. And so, I'd like to see KU win this one, but I can't pick them. It's so hard. It would be an utter lie for me to tell you that I genuinely think KU would win that game. So,
Jared, what do you got?
Definitely K-State. I do not watch college football, but I know one thing and one thing only. KU is the worst program I've ever witnessed in my life. Ever. I didn't watch them in the 2000s when they were actually good, with the King Talib and all that. I watched them in the 2010s. No.
I mean, and I think that ever since the firing of Mark Mangino, who led them to that Orange Bowl as head coach, I think that this team this year might be the worst team since Mangino has left. And that's saying a lot because there was an 0-12 team in there.
Yeah.
And, there have been some bad teams. But this team hasn't even competed yet.
See, I think Daniels is young. I think Daniels needs to work on some stuff. Next year, he'll be a sophomore, have some more time under. Hopefully, they will continue with Daniels. But Daniels has time to warm up and get better and do better and be better with Puka behind. Hopefully, if Puka doesn't go to the NFL, which I could maybe see happening, maybe not. It just depends. But if he's got Puka in the backfield and they just keep on recruiting, it's going to take time. I wouldn't even say Les Miles is under a seat right now. He came in with a team and an organization that literally it was basketball.
Yeah.
And, the only time they fill up that stadium at KU is when it's KU K-State for this game, which is at K-State this year. But I think that K-State's going to win. And Emal, because I'm a big K-State guy, and I know my friends and family, there's a lot of them that are KU K-State. Shout out to Trent Bunn. I got to call you out because Emal, baby. But let's go. I almost said let's go Jayhawks.
I mean, I'm all for it. Rock chop.
No. Let's go Wildcats. The Wildcats are going to win this game by a lot. By a lot. But let's move on. Let's start talking NBA. NBA season is over.
Yep.
The bubble is done. Congratulations, big round of applause to the NBA.
And I might point out in our Cali Sports group chat, everybody said either, I think you said Heat in 7.
I said Heat in 7.
You said Lakers in 5. I was the only one that said Lakers in 6. Lakers in 6.
Listen, I was just sad because I wanted my boy Jimmy Butler to take one home, but no one was beating the Lakers.
I mean, he had to play 47 minutes to even get to Game 6, and then we saw. I don't know if everybody watching this saw, but he came out of his press conference, and the way he walked out of that press conference after Game 5, you knew he would need 2 days of rest. He only got 1 day of rest. I mean, there was no way that they were going to be the same Miami Heat team that pushed to Game 6.
And
it was going to take a lot.
Congratulations to the Miami Heat, but let me ask you this, guys, do you put an asterisk? Hashtag bubble. Bubble year.
The bubble, actually, I think makes it, I don't want to say less than an asterisk, but the playoffs are so much different because the Lakers would have had home court advantage throughout the whole playoffs.
Exactly.
And then they played in a neutral site.
Yeah.
And
With virtual fans.
For every single game, they played in a neutral site.
Yeah.
So that makes it harder
Yeah.
for the Lakers to to go through the playoffs.
I was excited either way. I think I'm really happy for the Lakers. Everyone wanted the story to come out, with Kobe passing away and all that. And, you're pulling for the Lakers and doing for Kobe and all that. But in my opinion, I'm happy for the Lakers. But congratulations, LeBron. You got one. Next year's going to be tough because Steph's coming back hot. Kevin Durant's coming back hot. Kyrie Irving's coming back hot.
Klay Thompson.
And don't forget about Big Damian Lillard in Portland. So they're all going to be ready to go back, and it's just going to be fun to watch. I'm excited. It's unfortunate that the NBA at this. We all knew this was going to kind of happen. Football is American sport, and right now, they were running neck and neck, and I'm guessing that the NBA's ratings were a little bit lower than they wanted, but it's going to happen.
Something to talk about is the Finals MVP debate. Because, a lot of people think Anthony Davis deserved it more, and it might have been more of a PR stunt to give it to LeBron.
I don't think it was a PR stunt, but Jared, what do you think about this, actually?
The dude averaged a triple-double and shot over 40% from three, over 50% from the field. The man played his heart out. Don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis played really well. Mm-hmm. LeBron's LeBron, and LeBron did what he needed to do, and it worked out perfectly.
I wouldn't call myself a LeBron hater. I respect LeBron. I'm not. Oh, thank you, Jared. Thank you. But man, you know what? I think AD should have got it. But that's just me, and that's because I love my man AD. AD's really good. Let me ask you this: if LeBron didn't have AD this year, this bubble, do you think LeBron could have pulled it out by himself?
Definitely not. But no, I don't think so. But flip it around. Could AD even make the playoffs without LeBron?
That is a marvelous point.
And I think the interesting question with that is, if he doesn't have AD, who does he have?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because KCP came on at the end of the playoffs.
You would have had Lonzo Ball if that trade never happened.
That's true. So if we just go off with the trade,
exactly.
I think I think he still gets it done. I think he struggles, but I think the way that the playoffs went, he might have beaten the Rockets in 7, and then only beaten the. I think if they played, it
would have taken a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think if that team would have played the Clippers, it wouldn't have happened. I just think that the Clippers-Nuggets matchup got the best of the Clippers.
Yeah.
I think that, Lakers are the champs.
Congratulations.
I fully support that.
Yep.
But it would have been really interesting to see them versus the Clippers. And I don't know if it would have happened if the Clippers hadn't lost. But they did, and now the Lakers are champs, and go them.
Congratulations to the Lakers for sure. I got to bring it up because I want to. We can make this quick, short, and to the point.
MJ versus LeBron.
Yep, MJ versus LeBron. The GOAT, greatest of all time in the NBA is Gojo.
LeBron James. And, everybody wants to talk about Michael Jordan's 6 rings. Okay. I just want to talk about, LeBron is now 4-6 in the NBA Finals. Some of the teams that LeBron brought to the NBA Finals were more impressive than Jordan winning championships with the teams he had. As I just mentioned earlier, I'm a big KU fan, and Drew Gooden, KU alumni, was in one of LeBron James' starting lineups, okay? Now, Drew Gooden, solid player at KU, but holy cow, he didn't do much in the NBA besides, that...
Ride LeBron's coattail?
Yeah, besides ride LeBron's coattail. You're exactly right. And the fact that LeBron led a starting lineup with Drew Gooden in it, and that was his first trip to the finals, so he was young. I think that was 2007 maybe. It could have been later, like 2008.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in that range. So LeBron was still a young guy. I mean, he was 24 years old, leading Drew Gooden to the NBA Finals. I mean, that's incredible what he did. And I think the team, when they were the 4 seed, and then I think they got swept by the Warriors later that year, but they beat the Celtics in 7 games.
Yeah.
That was impressive. I mean, Kevin Love was his second best player, and I mean, Kevin Love
came out of nowhere that year.
Had some good years, but I mean that was not one of them.
Yeah, that was an interesting year. What do you think, Jared?
All right, I'm gonna leave it like this. Jordan's still the GOAT, but LeBron is the best player and athlete the NBA has ever seen since Will Chamberlain, I would say. But LeBron is still the GOAT. Just literally, for me, based off cultural impact, I think obviously Jordan has done more to, society as a whole.
Yeah.
Compared to, LeBron's up there, obviously. Like, I respect everything LeBron does, but Jordan just shaped the shoe game. Kid like basketball.
Exactly.
The whole world. Like,
I agree, and I'm gonna be honest here. I think that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. After watching The Last Dance, it kind of affirmed a little bit more. I am from Chicago, though. So I have a bit of a bias. But let's be real for a second here. I agree with Stephen A. Smith and all these guys saying, I don't even know why I brought this up, but let's just quit comparing them. Let's just sit and enjoy LeBron and playing LeBron. And honestly, if you guys know, LeBron is probably the biggest WWE character I've ever seen in professional sports. Everybody loved him in Cleveland. They hated him when they went to Miami. They got the rings there. They went back to Cleveland, won him a championship. Everybody loved him again, and then he moved right back to L.A., and everyone's like, ugh. So,
yeah. And I just think he was doing what's best. I mean, for his family, Bronny now, he's at Sierra Canyon, which is an elite high school program out in California.
Oh, Bronny.
And, not that St. Vincent St. Mary, where LeBron went, wouldn't have been a good fit, but I think it's a better move for Bronny and Bryson that they're at Sierra Canyon as opposed to...
And he's playing with Dwayne Wade's kid. So,
right.
Yeah, Bronny and Wade's kid get to play together, so that's super fun. And they're getting ESPN games, and they're in high school. So.
And, he averaged 12 points a game off the bench as a freshman in high school, and... that's not just like a freshman at like a Hutch or a Mulvane. Like, that's at Sierra Canyon, an elite high school program, top 10 in the nation. So.
And I agree. Now let's move on to our last guys. Really, let's be real here. The bottom, unfortunately, right now, just not getting any attention at all if you're not a baseball fan. The MLB, they've done a great job, getting this season underway. I stopped paying attention after my Cubbies lost, but you know what? Tops off to them for trying to fit, but honestly, they're just not.
Yeah, and I think baseball is a big asterisk this year because 60-game season, that's 100 less baseball games that got played.
Yep.
And then the Astros
Wait.
now.
Wait.
Yeah,
did you say? Did you say the Astros?
I said the Astros. Yes, they made the playoffs with an under 500 record. That would never happen in a normal year.
Yeah.
I mean that. And so now they're in the ALCS playing against the Rays for a chance to go to the World Series. They didn't even have a 500 record. So, this whole season's kind of messed up by that. I think a lot of people are pissed off at Rob Manfred for not punishing the Astros even more. Because, Altuve and Springer and, some of those veterans on the
Joe Kelly
Astros
was mad at
team.
them for sure.
Oh, yeah. Something had to be done. Nothing got done, and I think a lot of baseball fans are not really down for what happened.
I agree.
And so I think baseball, hopefully it comes back next year stronger than ever, but it's gonna be hard.
Listen, and next year, if fans are allowed, people are going to go to anything just to go sit and watch live sports. I think that's a huge thing next year as well. See, what do you think, Jared?
I kind of stopped paying attention to MLB after, the first 5-10 games of the Orioles season. We're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But, my favorites are definitely, the Dodgers. But I don't know. I don't know how Kershaw's going to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kershaw's a little scary.
Playoff Kershaw's always
still
been scary.
my dude. I love Kershaw just because of, when he was a rookie and then the second year was just amazing.
Yeah.
But right now it's looking a little scary, but Dodgers are still my favorite. I don't know how you have that good of a team and not win.
I agree.
And we give Kershaw a lot of crap for, some postseason blunders, but some of those blunders were against those Astros that did have the scheme going. So,
Yeah.
I
won't go grab the trash can.
There were some other ones that were not against the Astros, but, it does hurt. So
Yeah, I think that, you got to finish it off strong. Hopefully I'll watch the World Series because I'm a sports fan. I always sit and watch the World Series. I enjoyed the Nationals last year. But right now, it's just, I'm more focused on football. I think a lot of America is more focused on football. So they just have to suck it up and continue.
one other thing I want to mention about baseball. I'm a Minnesota Twins fan. They have now lost 18 straight playoff games. And how does that happen? Because this is a
You're talking to a Cubs fan here, buddy.
This is a series sport
Yeah.
in the playoffs. It's not get to the playoffs and then get
One and
one
done,
game.
yeah.
They have gotten swept every time they've been in the playoffs. They lost that one wild card game to the Yankees. So if you take that away, 0-17. But it's not looking good as far as the playoffs go. So hopefully the Twins can turn that around. But holy cow, it's just. Oof.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for this edition of the Tigers Den. Special thanks to Arthur Anderson III for killing it on that intro. We miss you, buddy, but we hope you enjoy what we're doing this year.
Yeah, and we also want to thank Kobe Campbell. Can't wait for him to be back next week with us. He's going to be a great addition to Tigers Den and also to Cali basketball.
Yeah.
So we're excited for him to be back.
It's going to be super fun. Special thanks to Jared, our producer. Killing it as always. We had a great time, guys. That's it. See y'all.
See ya.
See ya. Tigers out.